have the tools and
how to move from there.
Right. So how to move now that for that new person, where do they go from there? Right.
Yes.
And so that's where I come in is, you know, and when we're in our experience, we don't see what we need to see. Somebody else needs to show that to us. And I have a really powerful gift in, you know, going right into that core and bringing up to the surface what the person would benefit from seeing, and being able to acknowledge that and then take whatever tools and processes and procedures to move on.
Got it. That's a real powerful gift, because it's there's so much about ourselves that we can't see without the assistance of another. So I'm so grateful that we get to have you here today. You know, just to talk about patterns and things you see and what your experience has been. And one of the things I think you'll probably notice as a coach is as we get to the Q&A section of this session, you'll probably recognize patterns in the thinking that anchor the question and be able to assist people in recognizing the root of the thought patterns that may or may not be serving them.
Absolutely.
So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and begin the process of welcoming our peeps into the session. Thank you everyone for being here. It is a pleasure and an honor to bring you another Twins in Union interview tonight with Trevor and Eileen. Trevor and Eileen Build, they're a husband-wife power couple who've created a brand based on the ordinary to extraordinary life experience. They started with live music video productions, photography, weddings, and commercials, and they've now advanced their work into the realm of television. They have launched a Roku channel together where they host Knob TV. Knob stands for knowledge, notice, observe, and become, to bring you a combination of categories with engaging content that creates a 360-degree view of our worlds. Eileen's a certified life and transformational coach, and we'll be hearing more about how you can work with Eileen as we get closer toward the end of our interview. And she's also a published author and internationally syndicated columnist for BizCatalyst360.com. Trevor worked for 30 years as a sales manager, mentor, and coach, and he's a contributing writer for BizCatalyst360.com. You can find them both on Knob TV on Facebook, but you can also find their links just below this video once we complete the live stream. And if you happen to be watching the recording, just check out that description box to learn more about the two of them. Trevor and Eileen, I thank you for being here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Fantastic. Super pumped. So just for everyone who's joining, welcome. I see you guys here. Persephone, welcome. Allison, 3rd AM. Ninkyu, Punna Porn Ninkyu, Jody Collins, and Caroline, thank you all for being here. If you wouldn't mind hitting that like button, I would deeply appreciate it. And we're going to start off with a little bit of Trevor and Eileen's story. They're going to talk about their story. They're going to talk about where they've been and how they got to where they are. And then I'm going to give you guys the floor who are joining me live so that you have the opportunity to ask questions based on what you heard or for your own journey to gather more insight. And before I let you go, we'll have the opportunity to find out how you can get in contact with Trevor and Eileen to take that next step for your growth. Awesome. All right, guys. So your story, so many places we could begin. But I'll let you guys lead us in. Where should we begin when it comes to your story?
This is my spokesperson right here.
He's going to make me do most of the talking. We're going to have to pull it out of him. I I had no knowledge of the twin flame concept before we met. And even when we met, I didn't have any awareness of it. I was struggling with my current relationship at the time, marriage, and uh, I was looking to get answers and find myself and um, determine and decide, what I wanted for my life. And I had started a blog on beliefnet.com, and I kept coming across his profile on other blogs that I had started. And it was driving me nuts because,
Handsome.
yeah, this handsome guy on a motorcycle, it was this big, like alpha male. And my blog was all about Atlantis and intellectual thinking and deep thinking. And I was thinking, why would a guy on a motorcycle be interested in what I have to say and talk about? But I kept getting drawn to him. So finally, at some point, I invited him to my blog and he joined. And there was a connection. And I was first trying to help him save his marriage. I was just giving information to people and sharing my own thoughts about life and the universe. But we recognized we could communicate much deeper, and there was something there. So we went to private message, and at some point there was just this shift, this explosion, this otherworldly energy that took us both by surprise, but we followed it. I mean, we really didn't have any choice. It was almost like a magnet pulling us together, and once it connected, we couldn't pull it apart. It was like stuck. So we just continued to communicate, and a year later, it came to a point that we decided we needed to be together. And so he came to the East Coast, and here we are today in Jacksonville, Florida. So what's your version?
Yeah. Well, I was stuck in a situation where I was in a relationship with somebody that I knew for 25 years, and I had discovered in a very short amount of time, with many answers coming to me from many directions, that person actually had a second life where they had relationships with several other people going on while they were with me. And when I saw that and I figured out what was going on, then I reverted back to what do I need to do to take care of myself? What information do I need to be strong and know what to choose from here? And I started studying, and I learned how to disconnect from the behavior of that person, not let that person's behavior that they were doing affect me personally in a damaging way, and instill how to care about that person, that their life could work out. It just wasn't going to be with me. And when I was done with that, I healed in the position that I was in. Then I was okay to leave that, and I didn't carry a grudge with me. Uh, there's no hatred, um, no baggage from that. I let it go and blessed it and thanked it for what I learned.
It's beautifully profound. I mean, well, that was a real inside job there with a lot of self-love that allowed you to actually come to that place of gratitude, I imagine.
It was it, it was hurtful for a little bit till I realized I've never been a person that wasn't awake. I just spent a little bit of time ignoring that. When I saw what was really happening and I understood the lesson, then I took the rest of the school and in order to be able to move on without carrying pain.
Makes sense. It can be a challenging one, as there are a lot of people who, when they meet their person, they're with other people, married to someone else, and then, but they've met their twin, and that chemical draw is there. Can you talk to us about what the early days were like for you two before you came together? How did you experience the connection at first before you even knew what it was?
For me, there was some interesting things that happened. Um, I knew that I wasn't in the ideal situation, but I was dedicated to making that situation work for myself and the other person, uh, which it's admirable, but it was, it probably wasn't the right choice. But I kept getting these visions in my mind of so many other possibilities. And I ignored them, brushed them off, but they'd come back. And it was just like, there's all of these other things that you can choose. Which choice do you want to make? The relationship that you want, it's not here right now. What do you want? And I actually searched through all the different things that came up in my mind and said, it's not there. It that person is not there. And the interesting thing is Eileen showed up just a little bit after that.
Interesting, huh?
Very.
So for me, thinking about it now, I believe on that bigger, grander scale. So we're not just in a linear experience in life. Life is multidimensional, multifaceted. I believe the relationship I was in before was not meant for me long term. And it was almost like voluntarily I was being pushed out because I could not grow in that relationship and really become who I needed to become. And it's almost like if you hindsight and you look at where you've been, what you did, what you were thinking, and where you are now, the things that were happening and how Trevor and I came together, it was like it was predestined and it was all about timing. Could have it happened earlier, possibly, that we weren't ready, or maybe I wasn't ready, or he wasn't ready. But both of us were working on our internal growth, our internal healing, and I believe both of our exes were really our volunteers to push us out, like a mother pushes the baby out of the nest so we could fly. And as part of that, if you envision, a bird being pushed out of the nest and finds that courage to open their wings, and then all of a sudden it's a whole new world. And so we were destined to open our wings, but we had to go through the experiences we went through and not be attached to them. And when I realized that I was growing and I was expanding and I was going in a direction that my ex couldn't go with me, no matter how hard I tried to get it to work, I had to surrender. I had to let go in order for me to be who I am, to become who I've become. And it was, like I said, I feel predestined for Trevor to be a part of that. But he also had to let go and surrender. And because we both allowed ourselves to do that, our union and our coming together was a lot smoother than it could have been. And then the growth beyond that has been stepping stones to become who we are today and who we continue to grow to be as a couple and individually.
I think where we were lucky is we didn't bring a lot of unfinished business with us. Each of us did instinctively or intuitively did internal work to make sure that we were solid within ourselves. In other words, had our inner game together. We were connected to our heart. We were in a position of forgiveness. We weren't in anger. We didn't understand anything at that point other than taking responsibility for where we were at the time, and then at that point where we wanted to be. And when Eileen and I talked, there was no ulterior motive. It was all about sharing information that was very valuable in between the two of us. And over that period of time, the connection grew. And to kind of describe that connection, most of us tend to call that connection spiritual. However, combine that with the knowledge that the universe is mental in nature, then you must combine the word spiritual with mental. And our main connection was mental. We actually discovered that each of us were the same mind. The only difference was the difference in between masculine and feminine.
Right. And by no means was it easy and a piece of cake. We had our struggles and we stepped back a few times and tried to disconnect from the whole experience, but the universe wouldn't let it be. They were like, no, you guys belong together.
I literally shut my computer off and walked away from it for days.
Yes, and it drove me nuts. I was like, I gotta talk to him, I gotta hear his voice or whatever. So
I'm like, no, I gotta think about this.
Yeah. So when we surrendered, it was acknowledging that it's a life journey. It's a path that we're put upon in order to really step fully into who we are authentically. And if we're with someone who does not hold that space for us, a part of us seeks that consciously or subconsciously or unconsciously. And if someone comes along, like in our case, we each kind of showed up in each other's lives when we were not necessarily looking, but a part of us was needing to break free from where we were, and the other people in our lives were not allowing that. They weren't allowing us to become who we needed to be. And so I think on some level, the twin flame, if you're not with them in the beginning and they show up, they've been sitting on the sideline. And it may or may not happen in this lifetime. It just depends on if you're ready for that connection. And both of us engaged our will to where we were so ready that it happened whether we wanted it to happen or not. And it's been a blessing. It's been such a wonderful, wonderful experience for both of us because we're able to really be ourselves. There's no judgment. There's no push me, pull me. There's no strain or struggle other than those little nuggets that come up. That's a residual of where we've come from. But our whole goal as a couple is when we wake up in the morning, we want to be glad that we wake up with that person that's beside us.
And then we want to accomplish something.
Right. And then we want to be able to spend the day empowering each other and inspiring each other. Sorry about the helicopter in the background. and then when we go to bed at night, to make sure we never go to bed angry at each other. Has it happened? A couple of times, but it's okay because we wake up in the morning.
I don't remember that.
Oh yeah, well I'm glad you forgot that. But it's not easy, but then again, it can be a wonderful journey, and we encourage people to really pause if they need to. If they're in a place that is stressful and they feel like they want to scream or things are just really tight for them, to take a break, to really pause and look at why are you so attached to the twin flame? Why are you so attached to the ideology? Why are you so attached to the concept? And to maybe step away from that attachment and instead look at who you are as a person authentically. And is that person who you want to be?
That's really a good point.
Okay.
Because it really starts with, from what I understand, it starts with me.
It does.
And that I am authentically myself.
Yes.
And I accept myself. And then I can accept whatever is happening around me to be what it is, not overly judge it, make decisions from that. Does that go with that program?
Sounds good to me. What do you think?
I mean, it echoes everything that the other twins have really mentioned. And it sounds, when you both tell the story of your coming together, that piece of the inquiry sounded so deeply intact already, that there was such a individual commitment to being best self, understanding self, taking care of self, and being best expression of self in the world, that was in place before the two of you even really fully met. And it just got amplified by you two's coming together.
That's a good word.
You nailed it.
Yes, yes. It was like just these sparks, and because we were not aware of the twin flame concept, we had to study and research and discover what the heck was going on.
Yeah, she sent me an email. She said, "Look at this."
And we started to look at like the photos that have been created around twin flames couples represent, it was like, oh my gosh, I've seen that vision as things, there's one that I love that's the two people intertwined, and they're suspended in space, and there's light twirling around them, and I saw that vision repeatedly in my own head, and when I saw it as a visual and like a Google, looking at images, I was like, oh my gosh, there it is. So, there's,
when she sent that to me, that description, along with another thing that she had written, where she had written, what do you call that?
automatic writing.
No,
No.
it was about your what you wanted.
Oh, my soulmate letter.
Yeah, she sent that to me. Then she sent her soulmate letter, and it made me cry because I saw that, I understood it, and it was just like, oh my God, that's me. I think that's when I shut off my computer and walked away for a few days.
It's like, oh my gosh, what am I going to get myself into? Who is this? So, it's to explain it from a heart center place. When we find ourselves and we want to strengthen that essence, that core, that part of us that has maybe been lost or suppressed or shattered or not understood, not heard, that part of us is in a chrysalis, and it is rebirthing itself. And when that twin flame energy comes in connection with that chrysalis, that's when the rebirthing and the manifestation of what has been trying to create in that chrysalis comes forth. And the metamorphosis, as I reference it for myself, is the rise of the phoenix, coming out of the ashes and really blossoming and spreading those wings to be who I'm meant to be in this lifetime. And so many of us, twin flame or not, so many of us, we lose that part of us at a very young age. And then we spend our lifetime trying to get that back. A lot of twin flames will say, I want to feel whole again. When I'm with my twin flame, it makes me feel whole. And I like to say, we need to be whole first, and the twin flame enhances that. If we're waiting for a twin flame to feel whole, you're still going to be missing that part of you that's maybe still in the chrysalis. So, we encourage people to find what they need within themselves to feel authentically them, be me, myself, and I, to be selfless in being yourself. And then what will happen is the mirror of you will come into your life and be that other half, because it's a mirror. And if you're trying to connect with a twin flame when you haven't completed that metamorphosis, and you haven't completed at least enough to be love thyself, to love that person that you were born, and that essence and that trueness of who you are. If that's not there when you're trying to connect with your twin flame energy, quote unquote, there's going to be resistance. There's going to be challenges. There's going to be blocks and struggle, because you have that in yourself. And that needs to be released and removed so that that true essence, higher, I can't say it any greater than who you were, that light being, that lightness, that inner core light needs to shine and needs to be present in order for that twin flame connection to be healthy and harmonious.
But they both have to match.
Exactly. Yeah.
So wouldn't you say that you have to be able to truly appreciate yourself first?
Yes. But what will happen is when you're working on yourself, whether you're the masculine or the feminine, the other person will automatically be doing it as well. So there's that unseen connection between twin flames. So whatever you're thinking, and think about this, how many times have you gone through an experience and then you talk to the other person and they say, I had this dream and the same thing was showing up for me. Well, you guys are connected. That connection's already there. So you want that connection to be on that etheric level strong for when you come into the physical connection. And if that etheric connection and that unseen connection is imbalanced or it's not vibrating the same, however you want to say it, if it's not in flow, then when you try to get together in the physical, it's not going to flow. It's not going to connect in the way you want it to. Does that make sense?
100%.
Okay, good.
Got lucky.
I got lucky. Do you have anything to add to that, Trevor?
Actually, it was so good. I couldn't.
Can add to it?
Yeah.
Okay. See, I'm a spokesperson. He doesn't have to say much. He's lucky. No, it's all good. It's all good.
Love that. Okay, so that being said, I'm really curious, just if you could give us like a ballpark age, how old were you when the two of you met? What was your age when you met?
55, right?
We're 13 years different.
I think you were 55. So that would make me 42, right?
Yeah, that's about
I
right.
was about 42 and he was 55, somewhere around there.
I was like the old guy robbing the cradle. I was trying to avoid it.
That's okay. We won't judge. We promise.
Yes, no judgment there.
This is a judgment-free zone, my friends. Okay, so I mean, I bring that up to say, because you had mentioned, we didn't go through a lot of the push me, pull me kind of dynamics when we met. And I've heard some twins do go through that. I've also heard other twins report that they hadn't. Those who I've noticed have not been through that because of the life experience they had that drove them inward prior to meeting. But I'm curious if that is your experience as well.
Absolutely. The only, I wouldn't say we have any push me, pull me. The only thing that we experienced was what the heck is going on? And trying to, right? And trying to figure out, okay, am I going crazy? Am I nuts? Did I go off the deep end? What's wrong with me? And, the more that I talked with people, the more that I studied, the more that he did things on his end. Because we were 3,000 miles apart. He was on the West Coast, I was on the East Coast. And again, neither one of us was looking. Neither one of us had any clue about spirituality from the perspective of twin flames. And so it was like a Pandora box of just throwing us into the mix of, this is where you're supposed to be. You need to be together. Come, no matter what happens, you're going to connect and you're going to be as one.
When we landed on the same soil, we were already in agreement. All of what we were thinking and understood at that point was 100% back and forth. It was from that point, we actually shared more stuff that both of us had gathered over who knows how long. and it just grew.
And I think something to really keep in mind for everybody listening, a lot of it has to do with trust and respect. And I know in the twin flame community, trust seems to be a real challenge for people. And a twin flame relationship is no different than any other relationship as far as it's a relationship. And you've got to eliminate any jealousy, energy, anything that is not going to allow you to really see that other person as someone that you can have in your life that from day one until the end of your life, that you want them in your life. And you want to be able to enjoy the same things. Jealousy does not belong in any kind of relationship, much less, and especially a twin flame, because the energies of a twin flame, as far as I understand, and what we've experienced,
It attracts a lot.
it
of
attracts a
people.
lot. And you have to be really prepared to keep the negative and the negative polarity out. And it will test you, and it will prod you, and it will test you again. And the test is to, well, I'm thinking about it now, the test is really to help you to build that bond and strengthen that bond so that it can withstand a nuclear bomb. I mean, you'll be able to withstand anything that comes to you individually and together. And you want to create that relationship so other people want what you have, and not in a way that you're in this constant cycle of push me, pull me, and I'm jealous and I don't trust him or her, and the whole dynamics that keeps twin flames from really connecting in a healthy way.
It's Eileen and I are sometimes around thousands of people. Whatever we admit or share with them, with who we are, it attracts a lot of people. And whenever we go someplace, we end up talking to a lot of people. And I totally understand if people find Eileen attractive. And she totally understands if people find me attractive. But that really doesn't, it has no gauge on the relationship that we have with each other, because we know who we are.
And we actually appreciate that other people appreciate
We
each
do
other.
that. And I understand why people love her automatically. Well, I get it. I do.
Yes, and the women do love Trevor too.
They have different
I've had to keep
expressions.
an eye on a few, but we've had some interesting experiences with other women, even with them knowing that I'm his wife, and we laugh about it. We find it kind of comical at times, and we know it's because of our energy. We know it's because with us, people will not feel any tension. They will not feel anything that would make them feel uncomfortable around us. And instead, people want to rub up against us. They want to touch us. They want to talk to us. And that's because, again, we've created the relationship so that it's approachable. And it's based on integrity and honesty and authenticity. What you see is what you get. We are not different than anything you would see from us, whether it's in person, whether it's in in a Facebook group, whether it's in anything that we do like now, anything we do individually or together, you will see the same personality, the same character traits, the same person.
And we discussed this. We're totally open in the communication, so it's not that we aren't aware that we appreciate attention. We appreciate being appreciated.
Yes.
And but beyond that, her and I are secure within ourselves individually, and then together.
Absolutely.
So that's really nice because we can mix with people and not have issues.
Oh, he'll go off for an hour, and I don't worry about him.
That's
I'm like a
beautiful.
bad nickel. I always come back.
He comes back. Sometimes he'll have a woman on his arm, but he comes back.
And you know what I do if I bring one back? I introduce them.
Yeah, this is my wife. Yeah. And they appreciate that. They do. So we have fun with it.
That is awesome. So interesting. Everyone's story is so unique, and so beautiful, and such a reflection of the journey that their life provided them with, and what it is that they came to do. I want to go ahead and open the floor now to questions for folks. If you're resonating with what you're hearing, I ask that you go ahead and hit that like button while we're live. That definitely helps the content get circulated so other people can find it and perhaps find some peace in their journey while hearing testament to it from these two. I appreciate you doing that. And if you've got questions, now's the time to pop them on in the chat, because we'll be taking your questions in real time about your connection or about their experiences. There's lots of resonance and appreciation here for the two of you. Lots.
Oh, thank you.
So much love being expressed for your journey. So thank you both for being here. Lots of
You're welcome.
people were saying even before you talked about your frequency and vibration in crowds that they can feel the positive energy, that there's so much love between the two of you, that they can literally feel it coming through their screen, being here with you. So thank you. Let's see what the questions are.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
He'll laugh. What's that
Well,
question?
because I love it. Cotton Callie asks, what are you most excited to do together post quarantine?
Oh.
Well, yeah, that's a good question. And one of the things that we do is we film musicians and bands and concerts and festivals, and we work with the musicians on a more personal basis to help them excel. And we actually are able now to get out with our camera gear and start filming productions for these people.
Yes, that's probably.
That's the main thing. Everything else that we do has been virtual, but the personal contact with the latest band that we filmed, that personal contact with them to shore up their confidence and appreciate their abilities and push them forward. We're right now producing their stuff for, to get attention for them so that they can get appreciated by other people and people will pay to see them. We really enjoy doing that, and it is so nice to get back out there and help them display the talent that they have and what they have to offer.
And camping, which is what we're doing now.
That's what we're doing right now.
Poor Trevor was like, oh my gosh, I gotta get out. So,
I sit behind computer screens a lot of the time editing productions. So, and that actually was starting to wind down. So I'm glad to get back to work.
and by the way, during those 2 months, I was home more often than I was before COVID. And fortunately, Trevor still has his head on and I still have mine. So we did survive COVID very, very well. There were moments of
We
a
had to
little
have
stress.
some discussions because I'm used to be sitting there. We have the studio is in our home. So I sit in front of two computer screens editing and keeping up with our social media and
And he
stuff.
doesn't. He
And
doesn't
I'm
have
not
a door.
used to her voice being going all the time.
Because I was
So,
doing a lot of
you know,
Zoom sessions.
she is in contact and networking all around the world, and that was my first experience to while I was doing what I was doing to listen to her networking with people all over the world. And at a certain point, I'm like,
Ah! So he's like, I gotta get out. We gotta go camping. So, but otherwise, we did well. So thank you for that question.
It's a beautiful question. I'm glad that got to be our first question. That's awesome. And just a quick follow up to that, can up and coming artists work with you who would like to make a music video or record a session or some type of demo of their work?
that is what we do. A lot of what we cover is for the locality here, which has cover songs, but we also bring original artists in to record their original music. And we do a lot of original recordings of bands live, where we're using 4 or 5 different cameras while we're doing that to get their originals out there live, not just recorded in the studio, but what they're like live.
Amazing. How can we find out more about that? Because I do find that musical artists pass through this channel on a regular basis, and they're taking the inspiration they got from the connection and channeling it into musical art. If they want to be in touch to do work like that with you, the best way to do that, Trevor, is
That would be ordinary to extraordinary life.
They could email us at info@hotelproductions.com. They can also friend Trevor on Facebook, and they can communicate via chat and Facebook.
okay. So I will place those links underneath this video for the recorded version of this video so people can find it. Okay.
That's good.
And one of the things that we really enjoy doing is solo artists that have original music. So we're set up with an in-house studio to record those artists with their music. Everything's mixed. The lighting, the smoke, the backdrops, everything's there for them to be able to actually put their stuff out into the world in the best light that they can put it out there then.
Love it. Okay, great. All right, I just made some notes there so that I have this underneath this video. Can you talk to us a little bit about next question here?
All right, we got a helicopter coming over us. We're near the naval base.
but
Sorry.
it's all
Can
good.
you hear it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
we're not in a war zone.
No, we're okay.
But one thing you did say, I don't want to give your exact details, but you did say that you are in the oldest national park in the United States at this moment. And I
Correct.
just
Yes.
thought that was so cool because you're anchoring love into the oldest national park in the United States. Like, way to do it up for the grid on the Gemini new moon, you two. Thank
There
you.
you go. Hey, we gotta do what we came here for, right?
And that's that frequency. That's a really
Yeah.
beautiful piece of divine work. So thank you. CK
Yeah.
asks us, you mentioned it being a connection of the mind. Can you talk about how you view the heart in terms of the connection as well?
That's a good question, because this is my own belief that the universe is mental in nature, which includes our mind, but it also includes heart intelligence. And many people have studied the different intelligence centers of the body. So the heart intelligence, which is science is studying that right now, and the brain intelligence. It takes both.
And I know at the beginning, I saw this gold cord that um, went from me to him and him to me. And that has always been there. And it's still there if I visualize. Uh, the heart is our strongest organ as far as all our emotions and our feelings reside in the heart. And when you're in a strong bonded connection, that can't be broken. That cannot be um, diminished. And for us, it just gets stronger over time. Even if we have our moments of masculine and feminine, struggles.
Okay.
Yeah, well, he's an alpha male, very much. It always comes back to the heart. And, the heart and the mind are interconnected. So what we think and what we feel is very important, especially in, having a relationship like this is a responsibility. We have a responsibility to bring this energy to others so others can have that sense and that feeling of like they matter, even if they're not in a twin flame relationship. So many people walk this earth not feeling like they belong or that anybody cares, and that nothing matters with what they do or who they are. And twin flame energy is meant to hold space for people to feel good about life, to live life to the fullest, to come from that heart center. And right now we need that more than ever. The hate and the division and just the senselessness that's out there right now. The world needs that twin flame energy, whether it's coming from an individual or a couple, more than ever. And
So what you're saying there, I got
go ahead.
an individual in their own energy without being connected or in the same space with their twin flame can accomplish a lot in this world.
Absolutely. You do not need your twin flame in order to express that twin flame energy, because you are still connected with that energy in the etheric realm. And so, think about if you imagine something and you bring it to yourself in a state of being in the now, that's just as real as Trevor being next to me right here. So the heart center is key to expand out that twin flame energy, which is based in love. You think about it, everything we do in life is what? To feel, to be, to have love. Love of self and love of others and love of the world, of life, right?
Well, if you really want to make love really simple, it's appreciation. Appreciation
And gratitude.
and gratitude. So I might, let's say I'm at a moment that I'm not really happy with what you just said. It can happen.
It happens.
But at the same time, I appreciate everything about you, what you contribute to the world, our friends, our acquaintances, and myself. That appreciation is actually the love.
He said it. I hope that answers your question.
It's a beautiful answer. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. All right. Next question comes from Joie de Vivre. Joie de Vivre says, did you both feel the telepathic heart connection? Some twin flame channelers say the divine masculine doesn't send any energy, only divine feminine.
I had to tell him to get out of my head.
Well, I actually have an answer to that. There's two things at play from what I understand. One is that there's genetic attraction, which really has to do with propagation of the best of the species on this planet. And the other is the mental, or what you would call spiritual, connection in between humans. Males tend to be more in the genetic attraction area.
The females are more intuitive. It's not to say males aren't intuitive, but females tend to have an innate gift to hear and feel and sense, not just the physical, but also the mental and what's not being said, but it's there. In our experience, I could hear, I would always, we've had this running joke since the beginning. He would think something, think about me, have these long drawn out thoughts. And this was even while we were 3,000 miles apart. And all of a sudden I'd have this urge to automatically write. And so I'd start writing, and it would be him talking to me, and I'd be writing it down. And then next time we communicated or we talked, I'd say, hey, I want to read this to you. And I'd read it to him, and he'd be laughing. And I said, you just got ratted on. So he recognized what I had written down because it was the thoughts that he was having.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't say that males don't project, but from a female perspective, from the studies that I've done on this, a male projection is a little bit different. It's more about strength, being, if a male is strong, he's humorous, if he has wit, if he can make decisions, just protect. If a male exudes those things, those are genetically attractive things to a female. That's about all we have to offer at first. For a female, it's a little bit different. But however, don't discount us as males, because at a certain point, when we communicate with a female and we listen to what they say, and we understand that they're not there in judgment, that they're actually there out of love and concern and caring, and being graceful, but bringing strength, because males do appreciate strength. We flip to that being the most important.
Hope that makes sense.
To which part being the most important?
Are you asking a question?
Yes, can you clarify?
To which part? Say the question again.
You flip to which part being the most important?
That mental connection, but with the emotional underlying. That's the best I can describe it.
So I think what he's saying is,
My
all right,
interpreter.
no, I know, I'm not trying to interpret. Read me the question again, and then I'll answer it based on what we're discussing.
I think we got it. It's essentially what I heard you say, and just correct me, that the men bring this particular energy of strength to the connection. appreciating the strength that the female brings when she brings it. But once it's established that it's there, the men then tune in to the spiritual and emotional nature of the connection. They see that as the next priority. Is that it?
Good job.
You got it. See, we're in it, so you had to explain it. Thank you.
Just checking to see if I'm tracking. It sounds like I
Right.
am.
You
It's
got it.
little brain's still going here. All right. Joy de Vivre asks in follow up that her divine counterpart says he has no doubt that they'll be together with conviction. Did you both know that physical union was a for sure thing?
In the beginning, we didn't know what was going on. So the thought of coming together physically didn't even cross our mind in the beginning. It wasn't until it wouldn't go away did we decide, okay, we got to take this seriously. We've got to see what the heck this is. And when we realized that we couldn't ignore everything that was happening, at that point, it became very evident that we were going to come together physically and be together. But it wasn't an intentional path that we were going to take. It just kind of evolved. So for us, our experience was more rooted in something happened. Okay, let's study this, understand it, and see what happens in our lives, and then something else major would happen. And then, okay, let's study this, understand it, a shift would occur, and then something else major happened. So it was kind of like stepping stones, and it just kind of all morphed and flowed together to where finally he was like, I'm done, I'm heading out east. And
Yeah,
I would
stick the fork in me.
Yeah, he did say that. Stick a fork in me, I'm done.
Basically, we communicated. And quite frankly, neither of us had anything to lose. We communicated honestly with each other. And we made decisions off of that. That doesn't mean that I didn't shut off my computer and walk away from it once I realized what really was going on. But I came back. And when I came back, it was like, okay, I get this. I understand it. I realize that this is my path and I'm good with it.
And it comes back to that surrendering. And in our experience, you cannot force anything to happen. If you're trying to force it and you're trying to make it happen, and I know a lot of people want to say, I want to be with my twin flame, or who is my twin flame, or things to that nature. Really stepping back and allowing the opportunity to present itself is going to be a lot better than trying to make it happen.
I gotta ask a question.
Okay, yes.
What's most important? Being absolutely, totally appreciative, understanding of yourself, or being with your twin flame?
First and foremost, you've got to know yourself, and you've got to love that person that you are, because otherwise you're bringing stuff into that relationship that doesn't match that twin flame energy. Think about the twin flame energy. What does that represent? That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
And do you carry that with you authentically inside as a reflection, so that it reflects out and brings the same back to you?
Good point.
So that's my answer.
Did we get off track?
No, that was actually a wonderful tee up. Trevor, you are an incredible supporter here. You remembered the DNA question that we talked about at the beginning before we went live, and you made sure we wove that in, and we nailed getting that in here. And that brings me to what you just said, brings me to the point of how we can work with Eileen before we move on to more questions. because the work that Eileen does sets people up to be able to be that full embodied expression of the love in their life, so that when they come together, it can happen a lot more smoothly with a lot less drama, a lot less push pull, etc. So, Eileen, you mentioned that you have a special invitation for folks if they do want to take a deeper dive. I want to go ahead and share screen so that I can show people how they can do that. So this is Miss Eileen Build's website. You can find her at corethinkingblueprint.com. And Eileen, I believe what we have on offer today, tell us a little bit, just what is core thinking exactly?
So core thinking is re-engineering the mind to allow yourself to go to that next level that you know it's there, but you have blocks and you have, you know, like a computer system. There's glitches and there's uh, things that are not allowing the system to run smoothly. And so we reboot and we reprogram and we re-engineer that mental thinking system so that then there's clarity and there's confidence and there's the ability to now be inspired to see where that next step is and to be able to take action to go there.
What I love about this is the alignment with what's happening astrologically. Two things I know are true. One, the divine feminine asteroid that I read is the divine feminine energy, Juno. She's sitting in an air sign, and we understand air to be mind and communication. And we just had the move of the nodes, North Node and South Node, into the Gemini Sagittarius eclipse axis. That's fire and air. Again, air being mind and communication, fire being spirit. And so this gives us, the work that you're doing really allows us to create a seamless alignment between spirit and mind so that we can be a better embodiment and expression of our soul work here on planet Earth by getting out any of the roadblocks we have to expressing it fully. So tell us about how we can work with you. I believe you told me we go over here to coaching. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you. I have a mini coaching, Core Thinking Blueprint mini coaching program that is virtual. And so it's 6 months, and once a month you would email me a question, and I would answer that in great detail. And each month builds on the other. So it's a progressive process that strengthens, enhances, it really allows someone to find that balance and that forward movement and motion in a way that gives them time to process between each month so that it becomes a more permanent kind of fixture in their life of becoming the person they need to become to make the decisions that are going to be in their best and highest interest and to achieve the results that they want to achieve.
Amazing. Love it.
And it's a deep dive. So,
Okay.
you know, like if you go scuba diving
Mhm.
and you're going into the crevices, you're looking for the beauty that's down in those crevices. And sometimes in those deep dives is where you find the gems of the ocean, right?
Absolutely. And so this gives us the opportunity to ask you questions over email. Do we get to meet with you?
With this one, it's strictly email
Okay.
and question and answers. If they wanted to add Zoom sessions, then we would tailor and customize Zoom sessions into the Core Thinking Blueprint mini coaching program. Yes.
Amazing. Okay. And so there's an opportunity here. I believe you said that there is a savings that they get to take advantage of. Is that correct?
Yes. So if someone wants to sign up between now and the end of the month, I am giving a 25% discount for those who are listening on the show today. or tonight.
Amazing. Okay, and so this is Core Thinking Blueprint Mini Coaching Program. It's just the
Yes,
mini.
ma'am.
It's a 6-month program. And I believe you said that the way to get in touch would be to go over to contact. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. So let's
and
just click on contact, and here's the
then
form.
fill that in, and then click the other at the bottom there, other right there. Yeah, click the
Okay.
other, and then
Okay.
in the comments at the bottom, and they can check off the stuff up there too. I want to sign up for the Core Thinking Mini Coaching Program.
Okay. Fabulous. Okay. Perfect. That's easy enough. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Miss Eileen.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate it. I'll include a link to these underneath this video. So if you're led to take the next step, please do. One of the reasons that I invite all of our guests to share what they do is because when I walked out of 2019 and into the 2020 Union Portal energies, one of the things that became clear to me after sitting with so many people session after session and saying, yes, you and your twin look like you're a great match, and there's still a lot of work to do, was the recognition that my role is really that of divine reporter. And though I can recognize the work that needs to be done, getting the work done, if you were able to do it on your own, you would have, A, and B, sometimes we need a little mechanic help. We need a little divine intervention. And there are people who were placed on earth to facilitate that. I'm just not one of them. So I bring these people to the channel and act as a bridge and liaison to facilitate your connection to tools that will assist you on your journey. No right or wrong way. There's just the way that's right for you. Everything's not going to be for you, but some things will be. And so I bring people from all walks to make sure that you have access to a tool that can help you take your next step at the time at which you're meeting the information. So if you're called to take the next step with Eileen and Trevor, either as an artist or as someone who's just ready to chuck out that old template of thought and bring on a new one, then these are the ways you can work with them. And so you'll find all the links below. Let's get back into our questions. Okay, my loves? Thank you so much for that, Eileen. I really appreciate you being willing to offer that way of connecting.
You're welcome.
Cool. So let's see. Allison Scoff says, can you talk about any synchronicities or 5D connections you had in the beginning? And I think you did. I'm curious about the divine masculine's perspective and how it differs from the divine feminine's perspective for you. And I believe you touched on some of this, Trevor, when you said that Eileen shared her automatic writing and it was essentially what was in your head.
Yeah.
Is there anything more you want to share around your experiences with that?
The feminine and the masculine.
5D connection, how it's different.
What do you want to say?
Well, that's a question that's really worth thinking about it for a second. 5D connection. 5D connection in my thinking is when you're thinking about what's happening where you're at right now, which would be the very thinking that would progress you out of where you're at right now. We had some interesting things happen while we had first exchanged communication, which had to do with objects moving and in between. We were 3,000 miles apart. I would probably figure that was probably interactions in a 5D. But I'm not an expert in 5D. I'm more concerned about where we are now and where we're going to end up at,
Well,
and who's coming with us.
right. A lot of times we can get lost in the spiritual, the 5D, and forget that we're living a physical experience. And I think it's really important for people to understand that dynamic, that if you get so caught up in the 5D and the spiritual, and you're constantly looking to satisfy that need and that desire to be in that 5D spiritual realm, and your physical responsibilities are starting to suffer, you really want to take a hard look at bringing balance back, because that can take you off the deep end. And in the beginning, my feminine part that was screaming to get out and to express went off the deep end, and I couldn't get enough of the spiritual and all the things that I've been missing my whole life, actually, up to that point. My connection to that 5D and uh, the above world was cut off when I was young, like 5 or 6, and it did not open back up until things started happening a little before I met Trevor. And it was like a kid being in a candy store. I could not get enough. But at one point, I realized I had to bring myself back because I was getting lost in the spiritual. I became like a spiritual junkie. And I needed to make sure that I brought myself back to groundedness and learn to bring that through me into the physical, so that it's it's graceful and it's not harsh. The masculine can be really blunt and, push and fight and make things happen, and then the feminine is more of the nurturing and the graceful and the more pleasing, feel good. And we have to make sure that we have that nice balance between the two. Otherwise, we're going to be tipped too heavy one way or the other.
And what she's saying, and correct me if I'm incorrect, is that we're dual minded. So each of us have masculine mind and a feminine mind. And then as a female human and a female male, or a male male, we have that. But you got male, masculine, feminine over here, that guy right there. And you got masculine and feminine in her, creating the balance in between the two of us, while masculine and feminine being balanced individually. Is that what you're talking about?
In a way, the question had to do with 5D. So 5D is more like the spiritual.
I have a issue with 5D. Not that it's wrong. When I grew up, I spent most of my time in the woods and the rivers and the streams and the fields and with nature and stuff. And I couldn't understand why humans were faking it. Why they always pretended to be something they weren't, and why did they fight to just act like, to look like they were good. None of it made sense to me. So when we talk about 5D, we're in the 3D or the 4D or 5D. Probably when I was a child running around in the woods, I was probably in the 5D.
Right.
I don't know, and if somebody would actually give me an accurate description of 5D, I'd really consider it. But the main thing is, for me, is that I get all the information that I need to function and be of good to people around me.
And be human.
At this time.
Physical. We can't escape the realities of the physical reality. We came into life to experience the physical. And so, sometimes we forget who we are as that spiritual being. And when we wake up to it, it's a matter of making sure that it's a part of us, but not the end all of who we are.
So we can still be earthly good.
So we can still be earthly good. Yes. Yes. So I hope that makes sense.
It does. I'm so glad you said it. I have said it many times that if you want a connection to manifest in the 3D, you got to be willing to do 3D work.
Mhm.
That includes transforming our thinking, transforming our behaviors. So I get it. Thank you for sharing this perspective as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, we're definitely over time, but if you've got room for one or two more questions, I'll ask. And if
Sure.
not, we can wrap here.
Yeah, we can do one or two more. Sure.
All right. I see S. Decker says, my twin and I are very different. In the 3D, most couples seem very similar. The difference is we're one of the reasons that we separated. Do you have any thoughts about this issue? Thank you.
Ask is it a her or him? I'm not sure, but ask back. Is the difference in their thinking? Is the difference in how they view life? What's the difference?
Okay. How you view life. Okay. Okay, next question. We'll circle back to S. Decker.
Okay.
Let's see. Da, 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 da. What's Third I Am asks, what scares you about the connection or previously historically scared you? And if you had any fears about their union before you came together, what were they?
Actually, no fear.
Right now we have no fear. I'm trying to think at the beginning. If I had any fear, it was just, again, back to what the heck was going on. I didn't understand it.
Yeah,
It was
just basic
foreign.
reservations about what was going on.
Cautiousness, being cautious.
And it's actually okay to be cautious.
Well, it is.
It's okay.
Yes. But fear, fear that we don't operate from fear in physical, spiritual, in any way, shape, or form. We both come from a thinking platform of if something challenges us, we always look at what's the solution, what do we need to do in order to feel good about the situation. So if there's anything that could be fearful, we step back and we assess it. We don't go into the mode of fear. It doesn't belong in our relationship, individually or together.
My time of fear would be if a lion was in my face with his mouth open.
Right. Right. Yes. But as far as our relationship, it goes back to trust and responsibility. So if there's no trust and there's jealousy and all those other attributes that can interfere in a relationship, then
Communication.
then fear is going to be a part of that. But as long as you don't have any of those other attributes, fear can't be there. It can't exist.
That it's okay to have reservations.
And fear. I mean, it's okay to have it.
It's okay. And the main thing is if you find yourself feeling insecure about something or fearful about something, then check yourself to see what previous event happened that makes you, gives you the opportunity to feel that way. And quite frankly, sometimes we should be concerned and back away from something. You've got to figure out whether it's you or the other person.
And the word discernment is coming to mind. So it's if there's fear, then there's some discernment that needs to be looked at. And if it's around the relationship, what is it behind that fear that's causing that fear? And if you can pinpoint what that is, then you can heal yourself around that. And
I've just succumbed to that I'm responsible for anything that I feel.
absolutely, yes.
I'll take the responsibility for it.
So that's our take on fear.
Love it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So coming back for our final question, S. Decker has responded.
Okay.
S. Decker's initial question, just to recap, was my twin and I are very different. The differences were one of the reasons we got separated. Do you have any thoughts about this? And the differences included things like age, nationality, and hobbies.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. I would say there's a possibility that the question would be, why do you believe this person is your twin flame? Because if those are like key differences that could, in the physical realm, not necessarily allow for a harmonious relationship. Because when you're with someone, you want to be able to have enough similarities in the things that you like to do so you can do things together. Again, that's the responsibility of a twin flame relationship, is that when you come together with the other person, that strengthens the bond and the energy. But if there's so many differences, that bond can't be strong. So it was hobbies, nationality. What was the other one?
S. Decker asks, she just gives some, or he gives some clarification. He likes antique and old style. I like modern nude style. He likes hobo. I'm a bit square. I'm Japanese. He's American. I'm 9 years older than him. I'm a Buddhist. He's not. He has no religion. He said that we don't have compatibility.
But I think the question for me would be where the attraction is rooted. If it's a genetic attraction, to explain, a genetic attraction is based on everything on this planet that has to do with attraction to another that would produce the very best offspring.
Right.
That's the survival of this planet. Now, if it's not that, then the attraction would be that each person actually would learn and combine their individual knowledges together. If you think that that's what it's about, I mean, to me, that sounds really exciting, because now you've got knowledge, information that can be shared between two people that could actually create a very phenomenal front together. But both have to be committed to the creating the harmony in between all that knowledge and information and likes.
Are there any things that is compatible between the two?
That's a great question. I'm so glad you brought that up. One of the things that struck me, S. Decker, and we'll have to conclude after this, so many of you are asking so many other amazing questions, but we do need to stop here. One of the things I want to acknowledge for you, S. Decker, is that this person may not be your twin, but what I will say is that you will know. It is your intuition that will tell you, number one. And number two, if there's this much focus on what is different and non-working, it is going to be hard to come together. And this may, in fact, be one of the lessons of your connection, that will have to be integrated in order for some sort of coming together more deeply and richly to happen, which is, where is our attention? Is our attention on what pulls us apart, or is our attention on what allows us to be together?
Exactly. Yes.
Perfect.
Yes. And that's why I asked, uh, what do you like about each other? What do you love about each other? What can you, and I like you said, I like that you said to focus on, what the focus is on. So we practice daily, even after being together as long as we have, to make sure that we focus on what we love and what we like about the other person. So when something creeps in that we just want to, I just want to go like this.
I like that sound.
I still, make sure I come back into my heart center to remember that, I love him and I like him and he's my soulmate. He's my twin flame. And
She has every right to want to.
yes, I do at times. Yes. And so I would recommend to start focusing on what works for the two of you and what can maybe every day start looking at, what are the things that inspires you from him, what does he say, what does he do that makes your heart sing, makes your heart just go pound 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 pound. What does what do you do for him in that realm of love, true love, unconditional love? We never talked about that tonight. Unconditional love is so important. And if you're focusing on what's wrong with each other, that unconditional love is hidden.
Yeah, I like that you brought that up, because that's the difference, is focusing on the differences. Personally, myself, I'd want somebody to be a little bit more the same.
Well, yes. I mean, if you can find that common ground more than what's wrong, you're going to enjoy each other and you're not going to anticipate the strain and the struggle from those differences. We have differences, but we don't focus on them. We don't talk about that.
The differences are that she was very innocent and not me.
I'm graceful and he's more graceful now.
I've traveled the world. I've traveled the world. One of the first things she said after I gave her a rundown of my life, she says, "Wow, you've led a full life."
Yes, he has. And he wasn't done yet. So I hope that helps. And, really take a few days and write down the things that you love about him, the things that you like about him. Write down or print some pictures that represent the harmony that you like between the two of you, or that you would like to see. I do, what do I call them? Shoot, I'm drawing a blank. I do, I take pictures and words and I put them on a sheet of paper, and I do that every year. Why am I drawing a blank of what that's called? A vision board. I do a vision board every year, but I do it through the computer. So I'll find pictures. And in the beginning, I did them about us being spiritually connected, and they were really cool. But then as our relationship developed and we got married and life, we lived life together, then it started to evolve into us working together, common goals, and then my individual goals, his individual goals. And so that has helped a lot.
So basically, if this person can't envision doing that, creating common goals together and melding all that information together, it's probably not time.
It may not be time, but if you can refocus your attention and do a vision board, write all the positive qualities.
Both
you can
work on it together.
Yes. And do a soulmate letter write all the things that you want in that mate.
And both people do that.
And you can't use the word not. It has
It
to
has to be
be
everything that you want.
that you want. Yes.
Okay. Maybe we should do that again.
Maybe we should. I don't know.
Oh man, so good. So good. Well, I'm tempted to just keep asking you questions because I personally have so many. I see in the chat we have a ton, but I just want to stop here and just say thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your wisdom. And thank you for everything that you've been through that brought us the wisdom of today's conversation that will live on for the months and years to come for those who watch this. I just am so grateful.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. For those of you who want to know more about how to contact Trevor and Eileen, you can find that in the comment section below. Take great care, everyone.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Thank
Good night.
you.
Much love.